Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Green Arrow FPL Podcast from Fantasy Football Hub as we look ahead to Gameweek 23. My name is Fergie, and I'm joined, as usual, by the brilliant Rich Clarke. Rich, how are you? And what colour was your arrow in Gameweek 22?
Hi, Fergie. Hi, everyone. Unfortunately, another red. 6 in a row now. Tough week, wasn't it? Tough week for most people. I think I'd have had it down as one of the worst FPL weeks ever, but I think it probably isn't because almost everybody had a bad week last week. So we just weren't many points going around.
It looks like Sanchez saved.
Well, I think he saved me from
saved
me from a 12 million game week rank, I think. And that was very fortunate. He made 6 saves. Brentford were all over Chelsea, and he got 3 bonus points at the end as well. Because Joe, very, very welcome 11-pointer from Sanchez, who was on the brink of being dropped, wasn't he, after that poor performance the week before. And he's obviously been listening to his manager, and I think Jorgensen got injured last night in the Champions League, so I think Sanchez's place is pretty safe now going into those nice fixtures. But thank God for that. I mean, there wasn't really anything else to speak of across the team. I'm idiotically played O'Reilly. There were lots of rumours and lots of incorrect rumours out before the deadline last week over the City lineup. I chose to just think O'Reilly was going to play. I think most of the pundits thought O'Reilly was going to play. I think he lasted 3 minutes before he got booked when he came on, and then he conceded 2 goals and got a -1. So that was great. My transfer was Cunha to Rice, so owning Rice for the 3rd time in 7 weeks with my transfer. I'm not going to sell him this time. He's staying now.
We'll see.
Yeah, Cunha didn't start after all that, but then he did come on and get an assist.
He nearly had 2 assists as well, didn't he?
Down on the transfer with Rice from Cunha, but at least I got my 3 Arsenal now. Gordon did nothing, Foden did nothing, Wilson did nothing and got booked again. Haaland did nothing, Ekitike did nothing.
One of those
what
weeks,
can we
mate.
do?
One of those weeks.
What can we do, mate? Yeah, so gone from 13k just before Christmas to 84k, or 80, I think it's 81k on the website, but whatever. It is. It's not good. Look like I've got to turn it around or dropping outside top 100k for a long time in ages.
Dorgu 15-pointer on the bench, as he was on lots of benches, yours and mine. Did you have any regrets?
I saw the leak that showed he was starting, but it wasn't confirmed. It was an unreliable source that leaked it out. So I didn't act and put him in. Easy to say in retrospect to go and do that.
I'm not even sure you would have anyway.
I never really seriously considered starting him. You just think City are going to win that game, don't you?
Exactly.
On form and reputation and so on. So I didn't do it. The saving grace is, he will have a little bit longer in our teams. He was always a kind of 3-4 week punt, wasn't he? And now maybe he'll stick around under Carrick's structure and he'll be a useful asset in weeks to come. I think you'll probably find him on a lot of wildcards in game week 24. And so really he's kind of a transfer that I don't need to make now. And I'll probably play him over the next few weeks.
I think a lot rests on, I think he'll start against Arsenal. Which will tempt everyone to wildcard him in on 24 or transfer him into 24 when they're home to Fulham and their nice run starts. I'm just not sure how they're going to line up that front 3 or 4, sort of into the medium term, because Cunha is way too good to sit on the bench, right? And Sesko, just before he got dropped, was playing well, scored a couple of goals as well. So I can't see it just being him just, keeping that spot and playing 70, 80 minutes there. However, you've got a good point in that he's cheap enough that, if there ever is an injury in the front 3, then he's back in and you can just leave him there, can't you? So
correct, yeah.
No, I think he's
nice. I think he's fine to keep in until a wild card around game week 31, 32. I think he'll be fine to be sort of 4th, 5th defender now in a lot of squads. So yeah, pretty cool. How did you get on, mate?
I did slightly better, nothing to shout about. I got 42. I had Petrovic's clean sheet wiped out in the last minute of the game week on Monday night, which is becoming the norm just in terms of Petrovic as being an absolutely awful hold. Ever since Wildcard, really. Benched to Vrabka's 5 points. But I did okay. I was reasonably happy. 5 from Timber, 8 from Gabriel, 6 from Mukiele, who lost a clean sheet, but then obviously got the assist, which was nice. 6 from Enzo, so he was my other point scorer. Though I did have, blimey, what did I have? 23, 25. I had 30 points on the bench. I had Vrabka, and then I had Anderson first, so I've got no complaints because I benched him this way anyway. Tavernier's 8 points because I brought him in. I'll touch on that now. And then Dorgu's 15. But looking at my team and how it was set up, I made 2 transfers and I took out, who did I take out? Cunha and O'Reilly. So if you remember, we were talking last Thursday about whether to take out Dorgu or O'Reilly. And on the pod and the chat were telling me to take O'Reilly. You said take out O'Reilly. So I did that and I'm very glad I did. One, because obviously I've kept Dorgu now, but probably more importantly, I've now got 1.5 million in the bank, so I've got a bit of a flexibility over the next week or two, which is really nice. But I brought in Tavernier as I think Bournemouth's fixtures improved from 24 or 25 onwards, and they're going a really nice run. And when he scored the penalty, I mean, I've got a front 7 of Bruno G, who's been on fire. I had Foden against Man United, who had incredible records. I had Rice and Enzo, who have just been playing really well. Ekitike against Burnley, Haaland, and Thiago, who Chelsea looked really poor in defence in their previous game, and Thiago's been on form.
Half a dozen goal attempts
exactly.
Or something. He was unlucky not to score.
So I don't think I was ever going to play Tavernier or Dorgu. I had Anderson ahead of him on my bench, so I'm not disappointed because it just played out the way it did. And that's it really. I think I'm in a pretty zen place. I've obviously got Bruno G to think about this week, which we'll touch on later when we come to my transfers. But overall, got
Tavernier,
a plan.
I think Tavernier went off injured as well, didn't he?
Sorry, yeah. So, but I think at the moment he's cheap enough. I can let him go because I've got a pretty good front 7, and I've also got a decent 4th defender. So I've got Timber, Gabriel, as obviously they're going to play every week, whoever they're playing. But I've got Mukiele, I've got Anderson, who are really good for DEFCON, and the odd clean sheet as well. So I don't feel any need to massively change my front 7 because I can always get Anderson off the bench, who he's good. So quite nice. I'm fine. I'm just over 1 million. I think I'm still about 75 points behind you, but I think I've had about 4 greens on the trot now, which is nothing to scream about when you're at my rank, but it's just nice to be on the front foot. It feels nice to get a bit of momentum. And when I look on the Fantasy Football Hub app on the weekend, and it opens up all the time on live rank, it's nice to see a bit of green instead of continual red, which is being
absolutely, buddy. How are you feeling about the possibility of wildcarding next week? Is that in your mind, or are you actually thinking, no, I'm fine with the team?
Not for me. I think I'm pretty well set. I think actually I've got 2 transfers in mind, which we'll touch on towards the end when we look at our teams. But I don't think there's too much I would change. I change my keeper if I could. I just can't get round to it. I haven't got that spare transfer. But look, even the longer term fixtures for Ekitike, I know they've got a tough 1 or 2 now, but after that their fixtures go really nice again. Thiago is he's such good value for his price. He's also a cash cow to be able to go down to a Mane or someone if I wanted to upgrade elsewhere. And with the plans I've got, I'm going to have Rice, Enzo, Bruno Fernandes, and either someone like maybe Njai or maybe Morgan Rogers.
All right,
so
you've got them all,
and it's good. So yeah, we'll see. Try not to be smug. Well, I'm not being smug, but I know sometimes I do get comments that I sometimes sound a bit smug, but I'm absolutely not. It's just nice to be in a nice position. Let's just say hello to everyone in the chat. Plenty here. Just to let everyone know, I'm running the tech this week. Scott can't believe he's gone on holiday again. He's on holiday for 3 weeks. Thailand. So you're stuck with me for the tech every the next 3 weeks. So far, everything seems to be working okay, which is good. But Colin Johnston is in. He said listening on the way home. Hello there, Colin. Ross Johnson, a 60-point week. He said he brought in Dorgu for the City game. Their defence was there for the taking. What a shout that is, Ross. That is incredible. Ian McLaughlin says great to be able to watch you guys live. Interested to hear your views on the City conundrum. We will definitely be talking about that because there's lots going on there. Alan says, bad week for me, 34 points. Last minute Brighton goal took Senesi clean sheet. And Belfast Bun said, did you boys see the big man Bakar dancing round his living room after Tavernier's pen on Monday? Surely you boys would act a bit more civilized. I'm not too sure about that.
You should have seen me when Sanchez locked in the clean sheet. I made Bakar look like a church mouse, I think.
When a few years ago on the Dream Team win, I remember it was I don't know, it was in about March or something. I was top on Dream Team, and I had Gundogan against Spurs. I was a Spurs fan, but I had Gundogan as a real differential, and he scored, and then he scored again. And on the second goal, he went clean through, and my wife's nan was there having tea. And when Gundogan saw the second, well, I was on the ceiling, I was everywhere, and she looked at Laura and said, "What are you doing with this man?" And yeah, we've
her
all
dentures ended up in her suit, did they? I was like,
exactly that. So yeah, bit scary. And the boys used to cry actually when my two sons were younger, like I know when they were like 4 and 3 or whatever else, and Spurs would score. I had a big fantasy return. I'd give it the old "come on." I'd be like, "Come on, come on," like that. And the boys would be like, "Woo!" She's like, "Will you shut up?" I'm like, "Yeah, but don't you realise my differential just got DEFCON?" No, it's one DEFCON 1 around there. But anyway,
what does this game do to us, mate?
Indeed.
What does it do?
David Kent is in. Claire FPL. Hi there, Claire. I'm 1974, says, yeah, and then Bakar was punished by the FPL injury gods. He scored the penalty and then pulled his hamstring a few minutes later. Matthew Ivy. Jay says, midfield is falling apart, but in Tavernier last week, also hold Bruno G, Saka and Cherky. Yeah, we'll touch on midfield. There's quite a few on Wildcard this week and next week. Mark Gordon says, Wildcard time on Saturday. Stephen North says, Fergie, would you play all your cards so early again? I think he means the chips, and
does.
I think I would, but I'd play my wild card much earlier as well. So I think I played it right, but I didn't play my wild card early enough to sort myself out. Graham Miller is in. FPL scoped. Mika Brandon Ong says, finally watching live. Great to have you in.
Brandon, yeah, he's one of the
He is. Yep. And Blev says, long time listener, first time watching live. Welcome, Blev6988. Wildcard active. Need some stellar advice. Yeah, welcome everyone else in the chat. Great to have you with us. Your mini leagues aren't over. We're running an offer on Fantasy Football Hub. If you haven't seen it, 7 days free. If you haven't got a Fantasy Football Hub membership, I mean, I can't believe anyone wouldn't have one nowadays. But if you haven't, you can try us free for 7 days. Just click the link in the description below. The lie of the land, Rich. It feels like this week is a quietish week. Just looking at those fixtures, there's no sort of massive standout. Man City home to Wolves is the standout, but most people have got Haaland and most have got at least a mid. But it feels like a quiet week. Apart from the chap earlier who said he's on Wildcard. We will show the FFH wildcard draft in a little bit. Feels like next week is where the swings are, Rich. But yeah, the lie of the land. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, there's nothing really stand out. You've got a 4-week view of things up here. I think when you run this next week, you'll see probably still Chelsea still at the top, but you'll see Man United will suddenly rise up to just behind them, or level with them at the top of the screen, because they've just got a lot of the teams that we're going to invest in over the next few weeks, they've got tough fixtures this week. So United away to Arsenal, Villa away to Newcastle, City have a nice game this week, but then their fixtures toughen up. So you're going to see a lot of swings in the fixture ticker. And this week really feels like a week to roll your transfer if you can. Although as always, it's team specific, and if you've got a bunch of injuries, and if you literally cannot stand your midfield anymore, like most of us are reaching the end of our tethers with it. I could understand people making a move before the weekend. So we are going to cover some transfer options for people looking to just bring maybe one of those moves forward. But I'm planning to roll a transfer. I think that would be the overwhelming advice that I would give, given this week. But we can still look at the best fixtures this week besides the City fixture. We're going to have a look at the City dilemmas that we face as a specific sort of topic item, because it's not straightforward this week for Man City. We don't know what the lineup's going to be. However, they do play Wolves, and that's really the best fixture for forecast supremacy for one team over another. So I like City if you can name their side. Those teams behind Chelsea, Burnley, West Ham, Forest, I'd probably skip over all those as teams that we'd be looking to invest in at the moment. Sunderland continue to have good fixtures, favourable fixtures, and offer excellent value across their defence. You were talking about Mukiele earlier. He's done well for you again. So Sunderland may have some interest for people. Palace look like a bit of an avoid at the moment. They're in disarray. They sit 7th on the ticker over the next 4. But we're hearing about Mateta possibly leaving the club now. Glasner's announced he's leaving at the end of the season. Clearly, there's stuff going on behind closed doors there that is all is not well with Palace and the manager and the hierarchy there. So difficult, because they've got players coming back like Ismail Assar this weekend. Daniel Munoz is definitely an option who's going to be coming onto radars in the next few weeks. So is it the right time to invest in Palace? Not yet, I wouldn't say. I'd say when you get to game week 26, I think they play Burnley and then Wolves in successive weeks at home. I think that might be the time to come in on Palace if things have improved then. But then looking down the list, Arsenal, Man United at home. We've already probably tripled up on Arsenal, but it's still a tough fixture for them. And then in the bottom half, you've got Brentford, who've got a lot of players from our teams. They're still sitting bottom of the ticker over the next 4. Newcastle down the bottom, Villa 15th. It's not. There's nothing that really stands out in there, is there? To me,
not this week.
Teams to buy this week.
I think this week is it's quiet when it may be a quicker pod than normal, because I think all eyes are looking to next week for 24. It's going to be a very, very popular wildcard time for those who feel the need for a change, or for those who have still, hanging on to the players who were doing well 4 or 5 weeks ago, but haven't quite managed to, to push on. Maybe those who still got Saka, or they've got 3 Arsenal, but they want a different 3. We talked about them last week, whether we think the best 3, is Raya really worth the money when his points are probably capped at 6 each week, when you've got all these other potentially explosive options and things like that. So I think there'll be a biggish split. I think those who and I think also experience and discipline, Rich. You said yourself, your team is probably not in the most optimal place it can be, but there's also nothing really wrong with it. You can get a good 11 out every week. You've got a couple of transfers in the bank because you wildcarded late on as well. So it feels like a big opportunity. I think we're going to see some high scores in 24, 25, 26 in particular. There's some big swings for teams like we've mentioned, Chelsea, Man United, Arsenal improve again, and obviously made double in 26 as well, as well as other teams as well. So it feels like quite this week.
How do you just raise a good point actually? So since Christmas, or since sort of game week 17, I think all of the transfers that I've made and most people have been making have been ahead of these blocks of fixtures. So say 3 or 4 good fixtures for Newcastle, 3 or 4 good fixtures for Aston Villa, or wherever it might be. You can see them coming up, and so we're buying into those players. And then what tends to happen normally is you're very disappointed with the results you get generally from the players you invest in. So here we are again in 24. It's all going to be Man United. It's all going to be Chelsea. It's not really working, is it? It's not really working. There aren't any good strikers anywhere apart from Thiago and Haaland, and that's about it. We keep doing it though. It appears to be the only thing you can do is just look at fixture runs and go, well, I'm saving my transfers and targeting players there. But on the whole, I would say returns have been very poor.
No, I think you're right.
From that strategy.
And how often does it happen when we wildcard and our old team does better than the new team because we've got in proven fantasy assets who can also return. Look at with Bournemouth, there was a run over Christmas. You've got to sell Semenyo, get rid of him. The fixtures are awful, whatever else. And Bournemouth were like losing or not, weren't having great results. But he's still scoring every week because he's at the moment he's a prime fantasy asset. It's the same with Bruno. He doesn't need great fixtures when he's on form now to score, get penalties, get free kicks, and get returns. And it'll probably happen again with certain players. They'll probably get rid of certain players now. And
the guy you
like
sold
Gordon
will return,
like Gordon, and he'll return. But it's form, form versus fixtures versus class of FPL play. You've got to give yourself the best chance. And I suppose going into Chelsea's run there, they play West Ham at home in 24, then Wolves and Leeds. If you don't have one or two Chelsea players and they perform and you've got them, you're thinking, what am I doing? So you just got to do it, haven't you? So, yeah, it's interesting. I was going to ask you something there, Rich. I can't think what it was now. So Bruno G, let's just touch on him because he's been mentioned lots in the chat. Everyone asks about Bruno G. I've got him as well. So immediately looking at the fixtures, I've got to scroll all the way down to the bottom, to 17th, to look at Newcastle's fixtures. Talking about fixtures against form again. So they're home to Villa this week, and then they're away to Liverpool. Then they're home to Brentford, which is a decent fixture, and then they're away to Spurs. And I think after that, I haven't got it to hand.
Decent fixture.
It is. Well, it is at the moment, but we'll see. But I don't see that as a prime fixture, and it's certainly not comparable, for example, of Enzo Fernandez from next week onwards anyway, from 24 or someone of that ilk. So to me, he's probably, obviously wait, right? We'll hopefully get some news tomorrow, hopefully get some news, potentially even on Saturday morning. I mean, for me, it's fairly easy because I think I'm going to want Morgan Rogers from 24 onwards anyway, who has got a fantastic fixture run. He's a great asset. He was so unlucky last week. I mean, that save that Pickford pulled off was one of the saves of the season. Rogers looks absolute dynamite. So I think for me, spoiler alert, I'll probably do that a week early. But I have got another reason for that, is I need to avoid as many price drops and rises as I can in the next week anyway.
Because it's tight.
So I think for me, the answer is, if you're looking at someone else like Rogers, maybe you're doing him straight to Bruno Fernandes, or go into maybe someone like Njai, or go into someone else in that region. I personally, unless we get news, I wouldn't do it until if we get news, he's fine, he's fit, I'd probably keep him and play him because he's fine. He may do something, but if he doesn't, especially if your first bench isn't much good, you feel, why didn't I just make it earlier? So that's my only thought. And it's because the fixtures after this week, and even the fixture this week at home to Villa, is not that great a fixture anyway. So I'd be tempted to sell if you've got your eye on someone anyway.
He has been unbelievable though, hasn't he? I mean, I don't know if you're watching the match. You obviously were if you watched it last week, but he could have had 20 points in the last 20 minutes, couldn't he? In that game, he's very unlucky not to get a penalty. He's forced a number of fine saves, a number of goal attempts, put a number of key passes in. At the end of games, he's normally on pen share because Gordon goes off after about 70 minutes, and so he is a arguably a hold. It's a shame he's got injured, but such is the demand for midfield.
It's the midfield
positions
spot.
as the
That's the
fixture
thing.
swing
That's the thing.
comes. That you've got to identify 2 to 3 guys you want to lose next week, and he's now a candidate if he's flagged with injury. So
Well, who would you say,
I don't think you
Rich?
can keep him.
Who would you say if you're on Wildcard next week? Who would your midfield five be? If you could have anyone,
Ooh.
who would your midfield
All
five
right.
be?
Rice, Bruno Fernandes, Enzo Fernandez, probably Mbuemo for a little while. Might risk the double up. And then Rodgers.
Okay.
I'd probably have that kind of try that power five for a while.
How far away is Bruno G from that five?
Not far. Not
okay.
far. And probably from a budget perspective, if you've got a heavy defence, it might be difficult to afford all that. So you'd probably have to lose Ekatike or your second pricey striker for someone cheaper. So yeah, I think Bruno G is not far off. It's just Newcastle's fixtures take a bit of a dip, don't they?
I think that's the point, especially for wildcarders and even non. Is what I would do personally. I would look at what your ideal team would be from 24 onwards, and then what you can actually get to as well. And I just think if Bruno G isn't in there, if you were getting rid of him anyway, probably like I was, I would just do it. But if not, and when you truly think no, he is staying, he's going nowhere. Then you just leave him. Obviously, depends on your bench as well. If you've got like a Sunderland defender or someone with DEFCON like a James Garner or something coming in, then it's fine. I think so. But yeah, I don't think there's a right answer. I'm selling because I was getting rid of anyway because I'm going for the power five. I don't think I'll have Mbuemo. Well, no, I'm going for 4. I'll have 4. Sorry, I'll have 4 of those 5 and 3 up front. So.
Okay.
Yeah, hopefully, I don't know if that's helped anyone at all. But I think the fact that he wouldn't be in your top 5 and he wouldn't be in my top 5, maybe lean towards selling, but only if we get a bit of news tomorrow.
I don't think he'll be out for long. He's a bit like Bruno Fernandes, and it must be something to do with being called Bruno that you just recover incredibly quickly and just fight your way back to being the team talisman. He's definitely he won't be out for very long. I don't think he's probably just a twisted ankle or something. He'll be all right. Next week.
Transfer targets for Gameweek 23. Mate. Some interesting names and some blasts from the past year as well. So ones we haven't looked at for quite a while. A bit retro, Rich.
Well, first of all, before we get into this, it's not, we're not recommending you blow all your precious transfers on these guys. But, if you want to make an enabling move, if you are sick of the likes of Nico O'Reilly in your team, if you hate your midfield, there are some suggestions on players here that you have good fixtures this week that are coming in, that are likely to play. They're going to have a good game, get you some immediate points, plus also de-risk your team from some of the rotation we think is coming. Then I've thrown a few in here. Mark Guehi probably now is the most nailed City defender that you can possibly predict is going to play. He hasn't even kicked a ball yet for them. But I think he's going to come in, and I think he's going to start against Wolves, and I think he's going to stay in the team. Don't know about you.
I do, and he's gone down.
They desperately need him.
He keeps dropping in price. He's the third.
He's the
third most transferred out player this week. I'm guessing that's got more to do with the fact that people are maybe stuck with 4 City potentially. But he's 5.2 million for a nailed City defender, and he's got good goal threat. And City take a lot of corners. Yeah. I think he's. I think he could be a transfer in, to be honest. But I think he's a great shout.
Yeah, and thanks to Mike, our graphics chap, for helping us get him in the right shirt for this week. So he's got him in his new shirt. Goodbye, steady pick. If you've got him, I think you'd hold him certainly for this week because you've got a good chance for clean. His DEFCONs might go down a bit with Man City. He was a good DEFCONer, but he's got a good goal threat, and I think he'll enjoy himself at City. An old favourite, Ismail Assar, is back. I think from a successful AFCON campaign. I think he's plays for Senegal, didn't he? Him and Iliman and Jai in front of him, both with the victorious Senegal team. Did both of them storm off the pitch?
I don't know. I didn't watch it. I was following the
I wasn't watching. I heard it was
on X.
a bit farcical,
Yeah.
but they're both back this weekend. And Jai has an extra day. Doesn't play till Monday evening against Leeds. Nice fixture for Everton at home to Leeds on Monday, which is why there's two of their players on the graphic here. I put Tarkowski in here just because he continues to return DEFCON almost every week, in correlation with him being top of the charts for the last 2 years. The guy's just a DEFCON monster. And Everton, they're a funny team that 1 minute they're just getting clean sheets every week and grinding out the 1-0 wins, and another minute they get gubbed 4-0 at home. Don't quite know, haven't quite got that consistency that you'd want to see. But if you do want to get yourself out of a little bit of a hole this week, or you may be wildcarding in game week 24 and want a 1 week punt and want to de-risk your team from some of these dodgy assets this week, then the Everton guys make sense because they've got a plum fixture. And then Mukiele, I think he's worth the extra money over the cheaper options. We talked about putting Alderete. I think Alderete was on the chart last week. Reinildo has now returned from AFCON, and he's only 3.8 million if you want a starting Sunderland asset. Nice. And you really want to generate some money for midfield upgrades, then Reinildo's an option. But Mukiele offers more routes to points. He's getting assists, he's regular DEFCONer, gets bonus points too, and he's now got up to 4.4 million, so he's still really cheap. And for what he offers from one of the best defences in the league, you're certainly not getting rid of him, are you?
I absolutely not. He's nailed in my team. Now that I've got Anderson and Mukiele, and they're both, it's such a comfort blanket having them just there. That I've benched Mukiele's points a few times over the last month. I think I benched 11-pointer and a 9-pointer and stuff, but I think you can play him nearly every week, and it's just the fact now that Sunderland have actually run into decent fixtures as well. He's a top asset. He really is, and he would be in my wildcard team 100%. Yeah.
Excellent. So there you are. There's a few options for people to think about this week. We haven't put the heavyweights. It'll be a completely different group of players in next week's.
Next week's going to be
graphic.
Palmer right smack bang in the middle of it.
Palmer will be on there, and Bruno, and But this really isn't the week. I don't think. I did see a stat that one of these experts pods, 20% have made the move already, selling Foden and bringing in Bruno. I don't hate it, to be honest. If we hear that he is, unlikely to start, I've got the money to do Foden to Bruno this week. I know it's not a good fixture matchup, but we saw last week Bruno can score points against anybody. So it's just that doesn't feel right selling someone who's playing Wolves at home to get someone who's playing Arsenal away, does it? It doesn't feel right.
Feels mental. It's but you know what's going to happen.
You watch it.
Foden come off at half time again, and Bruno get a bloody 14-pointer, and you're
exactly. It's not. If it's a transfer you're certain of making next week, which many of us are, all you're doing is bringing it forward to de-risk a benching. I don't hate it. But I still wouldn't put Bruno in as a recommended buy this week.
There was someone in the chat who was talking about wildcarding this week. Don't try and often give too advice because it's a very personal game, but I'd be tempted to leave it a week. I mean, I just can't see it being a massively as long as you've got Haaland. Just leave it a week. As long as you get 11 out. I just think your team could be so different next week.
I think it's a bit early to wildcard.
Do it next week. We're doing a wildcard special next week. We'll be talking everything wildcard, and we're talking about some really exciting options next week. I mean, this week we're talking about Mark Gahey and Ismail Assar. Next week we'll be talking about next week we're talking about Cole Palmer, Bruno Fernandes, triple up for Arsenal, and double in 26, and your team could look really different. So hold on a week.
I think so.
Haven't got too much to add this week from the transfer targets. And Jai has caught my eye both for this week and potentially going into the next few weeks. I've kind of got a decision whether to go for Njai or Rodgers. I do like Njai because obviously Everton haven't got Europe. He's on penalties and the fixtures are good. Whereas Rodgers, he's starting tonight in Europe. He's not on penalties, but they have got good fixtures. So I'm potentially thinking about Njai. He was very, very good. Well, he's been good all season, and he's also looked sharp. Every time I watch him, he's so quick, isn't he? And so yeah, I do like him. I could do that this week. I could do Bruno G2 and Njai, so I get a good fixture this week. Nice price. Don't have to rush then to get Bruno in next week. I can sort of, take my time. But
yeah, are you happy? The question is, are you happy to occupy one of those precious midfield spots with Njai over the next, say, 6 weeks? Up to game week 30.
Yeah, that's good. That's
maybe slightly longer, 6 to 8 weeks. Because you're not going to want to make another transfer to move him out again, unless transfers are so precious. And that's the thing is, will you have enough spots for Enzo, for Bruno, for Mbeumo, for all of these guys, your Arsenal assets, blah blah blah. I like him as well. I'm going to look at it. He's only 6.3, I think he is now, or SARS 6.3, and he's 6.2. They've really come down in price over the last few weeks, so you're getting a lot of asset for your money there. But Dewsbury Hall being back soon is also another, I think that'll up Everton's goal potential with him back in the team. So yeah.
And there's one for next week. He was gonna be I was gonna see how it played out this week, but Fergie is a punt for next week. I'll change it now, but Ahmad looked absolutely incredible on the weekend, and he's 6.2 million, and they have got some incredible fixtures. But it's obviously whether they keep that formation where he was playing, and not go back to it. But even at right wing back, he gets assists, and I think he scored no goal from that position as well. So there's some interesting options there. And Mbeumo is obviously superb, but Ahmad, if you're short on cash and you want 2 Man United mids, but I'm going into next week. Let's leave all that until next week.
Yeah.
Man City mayhem. We promised to talk about Man City, mate, and I'm not. Well, I'm gonna take advantage of being the main host here and driving the narrative. Rich, do you want to talk us through how Man City are going to line up on the weekend?
Who's going to be?
Because I am going to Scooby-Doo.
The guaranteed exactly Man City lineup at the weekend. Oh my goodness. Well, I don't know. I'd like to hear what from the chat on who they think's gonna be benched from the City lineup. I've got a fairly template City 3. I've got O'Reilly at the back. I have absolutely no idea whatsoever what position he's going to play, whether he's going to start, whether he's going to be benched, whether he's going to be booked, whether I should start him because he's got a favourable fixture. He got an assist, didn't he, in the Champions League this week? He played out of position, or did he play? No, he didn't. He did play left back, even though everyone thought that Aït-Nouri was named in the side, but Aït-Nouri played right back. O'Reilly played left back, and they had a shocker.
They were awful.
Ake did not play. He's not on the graphic, but I think probably everyone had Ake down to play the Champions League game. Now he's had a rest. So Ake, I think, started the previous 3. So Ake has to be considered. Guehi's making his debut, which I think is nailed on to happen. Semenyo should start because he hasn't been playing in the Champions League. So if you own Guehi and Semenyo, or you've inherited them from their Bournemouth and Palace positions, then start them because they are very likely to start because they didn't play in midweek. Cherky and Foden, I reckon, equally at risk of a benching or equally at risk of a start. I wouldn't say one over the other. You could say they can both play in the same position, although I've heard from our friend Luke in a pod today that he thinks Foden is really still, despite his form, the only person that could really play that role for City, which is why he's been starting every week. So will he get another chance? Probably Twitter has talked him out of it. Our FPL Twitter sphere just believes that Foden's due a benching. Equally, they think a benching for Haaland is coming because he's so tired and he hasn't had anyone to cover.
And now they've got to win next week in the Champions League.
Marmoush is back. Erling himself is, showing signs of saying there's too many games, apologising for his performances. Could Haaland be benched when we're all captaining him? Absolutely. So that we'll obviously discuss captaincy options in a minute, but this week might be a great week for a captaincy swing, because you might even get Haaland getting a 1-pointer. So anything could happen with this. And personally, I can't stand it when it's like this, when you cannot rely on your players to start. So I think my biggest headache this week is, do I bench O'Reilly? Do I sell Foden? Or do I play all three of them and just hope that they play? So what are you doing with your City assets in the chat?
I'll read the chat. Yeah, the chat is interesting because Harry Dawson kicked it off. Yeah, he thinks Haaland's getting benched. Yaskaran Bueller, Foden will be benched. Danashir Gehi starts. Semenyo, Cherki and Doku start. Rayhan Donnarumma starts. Nicola says Cherki bench guaranteed. Foden will start. Belfast Brent's fairly certain Foden will be benched.
It's all over
Colin
the place,
Bugler, Haaland should be benched, but Marmoush didn't pull any trees. Yeah, there's lots of thoughts, and experienced Rich would say that when you're unsure, do nothing.
So play 'em.
Because there's just two sides of this coin, right? You could play all three. So if you played all three and they didn't do anything and they all started, you just think, well, that's unlucky. I made the right decision. I played all three. If you played all three and they all started and they all did well, clean sheet for O'Reilly, a goal for Foden, goal for Haaland, it's the obvious play, of course. If you don't start them and they kick off, that's when when it hurts, and that's when you think, what am I doing? I'm an idiot. And even that, even then is, who are you moving on to? We've already talked about, there's not many options this week who are too exciting. Like, that is the standout match. There's no other match where, if Liverpool were home to Burnley this week, there's an argument to maybe say, oh, let's jump on Gakpo or go to Salah or or whatever. But there's no other one this week. So
no,
it's
all eyes on that Pep lineup, isn't it? And it's not the first game this week, so we're not very unlikely to get the confirmed.
Is it a 3 o'clock game?
3 o'clock. It's a 3 o'clock, and
I think it's
early news. West Ham game is before that, 12:30. So we won't get 4 hours in advance of kickoff. It'll just be rumor and speculation, won't it? It won't be. There was a lot of bullshit leaks out there last week. Some of them weren't, they weren't true. They were just people having a guess. But they put people into a tailspin beforehand, and I expect there'll be similar levels of that this week. So, yeah, I think you've got to make your mind up after the pressers on Friday.
So someone said in the chat, and I agree with them, and then someone has followed on from that. They said the only three who are probably guaranteed to start: Donnarumma, Gehi, and Semenyo, which I would agree with that. And then Yaskarana said Semenyo captain Punt, and Harry says I'm on Semenyo captain. Now I think that's a really nice shout. I think you're kind of hedging against City running wild against Wolves, but you're also in on a bit of the action as well, because he can't play midweek in the Champions League next week. He will very likely get 90 again. He's been so impressive. He was impressive, against Man United, but he won that. He did have the license. Wolves have improved, but they're not going to push City the way that United did. So I think Semenyo
he might be on
captain,
pens as well.
Can you imagine that? I think Semenyo cap is a great shout. Yeah. If I haven't got him, but I'm jealous of Holder this week because I think he could do well. Yeah. But other than that, as we say, it's so difficult to say. It may be one of those Saturdays, mate, where and I haven't done it for a long time, where you glue to X at 11:15, trying to get a bit of a clue. They're the only. I mean, the only sort of massive upside you're looking for this week, like what everyone will be thinking. If we get any news, is Foden to Bruno, right? And they're away to Arsenal. We're the best team in the league, the best defence in the league. It's just not that. It's not that exciting. I know he played 90 minutes. He's a brilliant asset. He's in my team 100% from 24 on, especially playing this new role, in the 10 role. Is he really worth the punt over Foden at home to Wolves this week? I can't see it. I just think, take your medicine this week, and then, even if you get like a grey arrow, even a small red, it's not the end of the world. But you don't have to smash every week. And I think what you're doing by taking City players out against Wolves to try and smash it, you are massively risking your rank in a week, which is probably going to be a low scoring, boring week. See it through. All eyes on next week. That's my.
I agree, and I think if for me, if I was to take those two out and say bench them, right, Foden and O'Reilly, then play in my case Dorgu and Matty Cash, let's say, away to Newcastle. On away to Arsenal. What's my likely return from those two? 2 or 1 point each. So even if Foden and O'Reilly just cameo, which is the thing you're trying to protect against, you're a point down on each of them, really.
And a transfer up as well.
And yeah, that's right. And a transfer, or maybe if you make a move, you are. But yeah, if you were to bench them and just literally, play everything else you've got, you're probably only going to be a couple of points down on the deal. And if they come on, if O'Reilly and Foden come on after 60 minutes and half an hour against Wolves, they could still return. That's the thing. They could still get an attack in return. So I think, this conversation has been really good. It's just taught me into starting them and hoping. It's a start and hope.
It's not a week to take. I just don't see the point. There's just no upside elsewhere. In my opinion, it's a predictions game, right? But Bruno away to Arsenal, could play well, could get a penalty, could get this. In all likelihood, if you take off the glasses from that spectacular performance against Man City, which it absolutely was, and I expect them maybe not to hit those heights again, but to, because Arsenal are a lot more organised than Man City at the moment. And Arsenal have already seen, like, they're going into this. City was absolutely shell-shocked. You could see every player on the pitch was shell-shocked to United's performance. Arsenal can be ready for them. And Arsenal at home as well. So I just can't see it. I can't see it being the same.
Maybe 2-1 to Arsenal. It's not a week where I'm scared of only having one Arsenal defender.
Exactly.
But I think they'll win the game.
It's a quiet week this week. Just let it go. All guns blazing for next week.
Good discussion.
It was very useful. Predicted points for the next 4 game weeks. Obviously, this is probably a bit more relevant next week now. But Haaland top 33, Bruno 25, Gabriel 24, Saka 23, Rice 23, and Buemo 22. All your boys in there. Ekitike 21, Mateta 21, Palmer 21, Semenyo 21, Foden 21, Thiago 21. They all much a messness. And then Timber, Salah. We haven't mentioned Salah. I don't want to go off for 5 and 10 minutes talking about him. Really, did he started last? No. He started last.
He did, night, and he played well. He got some good. I didn't watch the Liverpool game. I was watching Chelsea. Unfortunately, it was a very dull game. But yeah, the Salah, played. I think the whole game. Straight back into the team. First win with him starting since November. And Slot was very happy with him. So I think he's back in the side. I think he'll start again at the weekend. And hopefully that will improve Ekitike's chances of returning away to Bournemouth. So yeah, I think Salah, again, wouldn't be a buy recommendation this week, but he might be somebody that can come back onto our.
Might be on the thumbnail next week, along with Palmer and Bruno.
Wildcarding next week, might want to change it up, shake it up, go from Saka to Salah somehow, and find the savings elsewhere. Play with 2 4.5 strikers if Wolves get a double game week. That's definitely doable on Wildcard, having Haaland and Salah drafts again. I think he's come down to 14 million from 14.5, I think, earlier in the season. So he's definitely lost a bit of price scariness about him. But yeah, Salah is back on radars. The one we haven't talked about, mate. What do you think of Palmer as an option for these Chelsea fixtures? Now, he's not 100%. We know he's not 100%, but he's had another rest for the Champions League. He'll probably have another rest for Chelsea's crucial Champions League match next week away to Napoli. But it seems all right for the league games. Is he on your radar at all for this Chelsea run?
I think he is, but I think we're quite fortunate again. Well, I'm not. I'm actually not sure he's on my radar because I haven't got that price point. And this is what I was talking about earlier when I said Thiago or Ekitike could potentially go down to a Mane from Wolves to release funds to a upgrade. We get another week. He didn't play last night. We get another week of watching him this week. If Palmer goes and bags a brace this week and looks really good, I think he's going to be everywhere ahead of a really good run of fixtures. So I think I've probably, well, I don't think he'd be worth wildcarding to get him in. When sometimes you say, I've got to get Salah back, so I'm wildcarding, I need to restructure my whole team. I don't think he's that great an option. I don't think we'd be brave enough to captain him with all his, injury worries and things. If I could get to him from Saka, and if things lined up a certain way, like Saka maybe had a knock and Palmer's confirmed to start and all this stuff, you may think about doing that. But I don't at the moment, rightly or wrongly, he's not on my radar to rip my team up for. If I was wildcarding, I'd be tempted, I think. What about you?
Yeah, I think you'll see him. I think you'll see him on a lot of wild cards, particularly from people maybe who are down the ranks a bit, because he is, while he's low owned, he has that very high ceiling and that opportunity if captained to, give that, massive return that will, vault you up 1 million places or something in 1 week.
Yeah.
And that's what people are looking for, that huge uplift. So, yeah, I could go there from Saka, because I've got one of the reasons I got Rice in last week was to just give myself that option on Palmer. It'll mean making more Arsenal transfers nearer their double game week if that happens, but I think it might be worth it over Enzo. I don't know. I'm just worried about his fitness. I think he will miss one of the 4 games, one of those 4 key games at least, and that's what's putting me off. Enzo's so much better value, and you've already got him in, so you obviously believe that too. So interesting.
Some question in the chat: why isn't Njai on the list, and why is Rodgers not on there? I think it's maybe because, well, I'm not sure on Njai actually. I'll have to take a look at that, but I think Rodgers will be in from next week.
It's probably, well, you're going to see. We haven't had the last of Njai from this week. Let's not spoil it.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Rich.
Yeah.
A quick look at the best wildcard team for this week. Like I say, wouldn't encourage wildcarding this week because it may look different. Well, it will look different next week. Interestingly, Foden makes the wildcard team this week. He won't be next week. Sanchez and Dubravka. You're fine there, Rich. Gabriel, Tarkovsky, Senesi, Mukelele, and Alderete. Semenyo, Foden, Rice, Bruno Fernandes, and Enzo, and then Haaland, Thiago, and Krupi Jr. makes the cut. I'm sure that if Wolves double is confirmed for 26, that will probably be Mane, I'm guessing. But obviously this.
I like it. I think it's a great. You wouldn't, honestly, mate. You would not have Foden.
No,
you wouldn't. If you were wildcarding, would you?
Well,
at the moment, that's the one that really stands out to me. You'd have Mbeumo in there instead, he starts or Rodgers, one of those two.
The argument is at the moment is Foden he's starting every game, and it's obviously the AI is looking at Foden's minutes, and he's starting every single game in every competition almost, and it's obviously working off sort of legacy stats and data and bits and pieces. I know he's off form at the moment, but when Foden starts, I mean, you don't think, there's no way he's going to score. I know he's off form at the moment, but he's still playing reasonably well. Otherwise, he wouldn't be starting. Yeah. So, but I get it. And from next week, he's not going to be in the team, is he? So,
no.
But yeah,
but apart from that, I think if you put Mbeumo or Rodgers in that team, I think you've got a fantastic looking team.
It's a good team. Yeah. And the best free hit team this week: Kelleher home to Forest. Ballard and Thiago, so a triple up for Brentford. Really good point in the chat. I've lost it. Sorry, but it was saying that it was off Andrew Barton, so I'm surprised. And no one's talking about Tiago captaincy. Forest are in Portugal, 8 p.m. kickoff this evening. Then play away at Brentford on Sunday. They will be cooked. So it's a good shout, just in terms of.
I think, yeah, we're coming on to captaincy, but I think Tiago is a really good shout this week. Apart from, I also like that Semenyo one from earlier.
I do as well. So Ballard, Romero, Gehi, Gabriel, and Van de Ven on the bench, and then Semenyo, Saka, Rice, and Bruno. So 3 players in the same game, and then Haaland and Thiago up front. So that's the best free hit team for this week. Fergie is a punt for game week 23. Gone a bit rogue this week. From being a Spurs fan, I haven't watched as much football as I've liked this season as I haven't done for the last couple of seasons. Actually, I did watch a fair bit on the weekend, and I was impressed with this player. And I always like to look at someone who is potentially under the radar, but who are about to go into a group of nice fixtures. They're the ones I tend to try and look for. And I was just really impressed with this player. I know he scored a couple of goals over the last few weeks. He seems to have found himself in the team. I don't know if anyone wants to have a guess in the chat. I appreciate I'm giving much information other than we certainly haven't mentioned the season. I don't even mention him all season, actually. He played well on the weekend. Oh, wow. He scored last weekend. And I thought
that's hardly anybody did. Yeah, so I'm trying.
I thought he looked really sharp, and I think he's a good option for the next 3 games. We saw an upturn on the weekend for West Ham away to my beloved Spurs, but I was impressed with Somerville, and I think that going into the next 3, they got Sunderland at home, Chelsea away, who I think are looking ropey at the back, and then Burnley away. And then you've got United and Bournemouth both at home. So I like that run of 5 fixtures for West Ham. I know West Ham have been woeful. I get it. And this is why this section is called Fergie is a punt, because he's certainly not someone, I would encourage to bring in. But if you are looking for someone, I think that Somerville could get, a few returns over this next 4 or 5 games. So he is my punt for this week. What do you think, Rich? Do you?
I think, that's pretty punty. You're picking a West Ham player as you're obviously backing them to turn it around. I mean, they may do. They certainly need to string some wins together to bridge across to the the teams above them. I think they might be at least 7 or 8 points behind the team in 17th, aren't they? So they need to get their skates on, but they can start by winning this weekend. And I don't think he's a bad punt. He's a decent player, isn't he? He's lively. He's nailed.
Lively. He is.
He's good. It's a good punt. Yeah, I don't mind it at all.
Rich, Tony's asked, what is your position on the latest Beckham family scandal? Do you stand with Brooklyn? Let's just move on before we get into anything political.
I've been texting my daughter today about what's going on. Apparently, there is a big campaign to get Victoria's old single, I'm Not Such an Innocent Girl, to #1, isn't it? And I believe it has reached #1 on some of the download charts this afternoon. So I love that kind of British humour, in terms of like, let's give her a #1, send her ego through the roof for the #1 that she never had. Fantastic. Yeah, no, I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying the
enjoying the chaos.
As long as her feelings aren't hurt,
of course, that is it. I agree with that. Exactly. Rich Against the Machine. This is where Rich tries to beat the AI. So we gave a clue earlier, but Rich, who was your pick this week?
I think what I do is I sort of scour the hub site and the expected points for maybe little areas where the algorithms may be lagging behind a little bit on some of its predictions in terms of expected minutes, and that's where I tend to find my value. So we had somebody saying, surprised to see Njai is not on the chart for expected points, and so that's exactly why I put him in as my Rich Against the Machine pick this week. He's predicted at the moment, until the boys look at it, to get 3.9 expected points on Monday night at home to Leeds. So, coming back into the team with the Grealish injury, I think Ndiaye comes straight back in as long as he hasn't been partying too hard with Senegal. 3.9. Yeah, I think he's going to smash that on Monday night. So yeah, he's my Rich against the machine.
Just
punt,
having a
and
look.
I think you'll see him.
Just having a look and at the back
week.
end on Fantasy Football Hub just to look why and what we've done. So one of the chaps who works this is an Everton fan, and he thinks there's just a small risk that Njai may not start or may not play the full 90. So we've capped his minutes for the first game back against Leeds down to an average of 66. But then from next week onwards, 88. So that's probably why he will be in that list next week, but maybe not this week. But I think it's a good shout, Rich, and very sensible. Let's have a look at the captain then for this week. Best captain, Haaland, top of the pops. We've been looking at this fixture for weeks and weeks and weeks. Home to Wolves, 10.7. Have you ever seen anything like it? But that's what, just again based on that he starts every game, right? He started every single game for Man City. Even started the Exeter game, for goodness sake. There's no reason to suggest that he won't start this one other than a Pep comment. He may be a bit tired, but I don't know. Dare you go against him, Rich?
I think this week's a better week than some. You could chance it, couldn't you? You could chance it. I'd be more likely to do it if I was languishing, if I was way behind, because just like, if you're down in the millions, then this is a week where the swing could be huge. If you went Semenyo, or if you went for Thiago, and 70% of the game gets a doubled 1-pointer from a 80th minute cameo or something like that, or he stays on the bench because they've won the game easily or whatever, he doesn't get any points. You'd actually want him to come on for a few minutes, get that 1 point, and then your guy, gets that huge gain. It's definitely a week to go for it if you have nothing to lose. But I think he's still the stand-up. Look at the difference between him and the pack there. That's ridiculous, isn't it? That's ridiculous. So Ekitike maybe away to Bournemouth. I don't think Arsenal have a strong enough supremacy fixture against United to go for an Arsenal player. And who would you pick? I think I've got to stick it on Haaland.
I'd go, if I was to have a total punt, and this is much of a punt as it is on Somerville. Actually, if you remember, Rich, I do remember my punt from 3 weeks ago was Christian Romero. And since then, he's scored in the league, kept a clean sheet, scored again last night, and they've got Burnley on the weekend. I just think I got 15 points written all over it. I don't know. I'd like to have Romero this week. No, I think if I was looking at proper captaincies, Haaland aside, Semenyo, Thiago, they're probably the two I would look at the most. I think I like Semenyo. I think he plays. I think he plays 90. But yeah, Wolves. It's fair to say that Wolves have improved a touch as well, because again, I
think over the last 6 they're the second best for XGC.
I say this a lot, but when we look at blocks of fixtures for the next 6 weeks, we always look at that and think, oh, look, they're home to Leeds. Look how much Leeds have improved. Their home Wolves have improved. Like, probably the only one who haven't really improved is maybe Burnley. But there was Forest for a period, wasn't there? Right? It was like, oh, target Forest and target all these teams. But they generally improve, and by the time it comes round, like City at the moment, a month ago, City and Wolves could have been like 6-0, right?
6-0.
City are struggling.
Kind of 6-0 in them.
City are struggling, and Wolves have improved. So, I think it's going to be a bit close. I could see maybe a 2-0 or like 1.
Well, I think we're going to come on to look at those predictions in a minute, aren't we? But I think I've got 2-0, maybe 2-1. I can't see the 4-5-0.
I can't either. We've got this now. City are top 4 goals, predicted 2.86. They're also top for clean sheets, 42%. Wolves are predicted, though, to get 0.85 goals as well. So that kind of leans into your 3-1 there, Rich. Interesting. Arsenal are top across the block, 2.12 goals, 37% chance of a clean sheet. And then Spurs and Brentford, both 32% chance of a clean sheet. Liverpool, third highest for goals, 1.91. But looking at those goals, there's only 2 teams that are predicted to score over 2. You know, I'd say it's one of those weeks. So it's
just to get through.
I think it is. Through. I mean, the chap who was talking about wildcarding earlier, don't do it. Just take the small red this week, bang into next week. Next week's going to be an amazing episode. I can't wait for next week.
It is.
We'll be talking about it's going to be nostalgic as well. We're talking about Salah and Palmer. We haven't talked about them and Bruno, you know. But anyway, any thoughts there, Rich? Or
I think City is over-egged because, again, I think those market odds are based on City's, previous season form rather than the last couple of games. I think they'll be happy to win the game, get 3 points, and then have a few days off. So I think they've got a big Champions League game that they need. They want to get into the top 8, and I think they're struggling. There's a lot of teams bunched up on 13 points. Some 8. I was looking at the table last night, about 8 or 9 teams, that are sitting just below Spurs, funnily enough, but they haven't got it in their own hands. They're going to have to rely on other results to get in. So they definitely need to win next week. Chelsea as well need to win next week in Napoli to secure a top 8. Tottenham are in a great position to secure top 8, so they might rest a few because they're suddenly thinking, well, that game next week's huge for Tottenham if they can get in the top 8. So Champions League's definitely on their minds. Whereas Arsenal, they're playing the bottom team, the 36th ranked team at home in their final Champions League game, so they can play the kids next week. So I reckon they'll go full strength against Man United. I'd be very surprised if the big guns don't play in that match, and therefore I think 2-1 is a good prediction there. And I don't see a huge amount of of supremacy elsewhere. Villa Newcastle will be a close one. That could be 1-1, 2-2. Everton Leeds, I can see a narrow win for Everton, but all of those scores are around the sort of 1-1 draw.
They are 1-1, 2-1 either way.
Games,
you're right.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Rich, we've got your team now. Do you want to run through it? Oh, sorry, just for you, do FPL SWAT. Great comment in the chat. Who doesn't love a bit of nostalgia? Yeah. Is Aaron Ramsey an option next week? Yeah, we'll have Aaron Ramsey, Yaya Toure, and we'll have Michu on the thumbnail next week. What do you think about that? I think anyway,
I see what he's talking about. Yeah, fair enough. No, absolutely.
We've got your team on screen, Rich. Do you want to talk us through your team and your thoughts?
Yeah, Sanchez will start in goal away to Palace. I've got Gabriel and Anderson. At the moment, I am so worried about O'Reilly's start. I've dropped him to the bench and put Cash in away at Newcastle. I'm not expecting much from that. And is Cash playing tonight? I haven't seen the lineup.
Take a look.
Hopefully he's not. He often gets a rest in Europe. But,
take a look.
And then my midfield, as you're looking at that, is Foden, Saka, Rice, Gordon, and Wilson. I'm giving Gordon and Foden their liable last games in the team. Gordon has been ridiculous in the Champions League. He was the second highest scorer in the 7 rounds of the Champions League up until when Kane scored his second last night, I think, just behind Mbappe. So he's been, knocking it
he's
out
in good company
in the Champions League. Can't score for love nor money in the Premier League. So hopefully he gets something against Villa. But he's only getting 70 minutes, and he's not been a good pick for the 4 or 5 weeks I've had him. So he'll be leaving the team next week. Foden will almost definitely be leading the team next week for Bruno Fernandes. And I've got Ekitike and Haaland up front. Can't really be bothered to sell Ekitike at the moment because there really isn't anybody to sell him to. I'm hoping that situation maybe changes and he's part of a reshuffle. If I roll, I will have 4 free transfers next week, which is great. And that will help take on the horde of wildcarders, and I think I favour rolling over making a transfer. Although you can tell me what my recommended transfers are if you like.
I can. Let's have a look. I recommend transfers. It says Gordon to Bruno, and fund. Well, I don't know if it's funded or not. Funded by O'Reilly to Alderete, which seem reasonably sensible.
Yeah.
Good point in the chat. Firstly, Cash is starting this evening, Rich. Thanks, Field, for doing that. But at YGO Wales, Villa have not got a win at Newcastle for 22 years. So Newcastle could be a good fixture for Newcastle. That one. I'm never sure.
Maybe
on
I'll
stats
risk
like
O'Reilly.
What do you think on stats like that, Rich? I don't
sure. Read too much into them.
But they tend to. This Man United run is absolutely ridiculous. This, not when they're in front at home at half time, they haven't lost in, I don't know how long, years and years and years. I find it absolutely incredible stat, like how it keeps going.
There was that one going back really a long time. There was that John Motson one where he used to say, "Oh, Liverpool have never lost a game in which Ian Rush has scored." Do you remember that? It lasted about 250 games or something. It was incredible. It was ridiculous, but I don't know. No, I mean, like last week, it was like Foden had an unbelievable record against Man United, didn't he, in recent matches, and just didn't show up at all, did he? So I don't really want to play cash against Newcastle, so I'll probably, as you say, either sell O'Reilly for somebody like Tarkowski, and just take some points and have one less transfer next week, or I'll roll it. But he'll definitely be leaving next week. I've got to make. I don't want to make more than one defender transfer. That's my logic. Is I want to try and just hold it to one defensive move.
What do you think next week, Rich? Just this whole nostalgia thing. What do you think next week? Or maybe we'll do it in 25. About making the nostalgia, the ultimate nostalgic best FPL 11. That would be fun, wouldn't it? To do over the next few weeks. That would be. That'd be really good fun.
I would do that. I don't know how we'll do it, how we'll represent it graphically, but we can do it on bits of paper if you like. Just hold them up. But yeah, I like that. Yeah, I could do that. All-time FPL 11. Yeah.
That'd be good. Quick look at my team before we go. Davrabka, I'm playing at home, I think, to Spurs. It's as good a time as any, I think. Petrovic is away to Liverpool. And I've got Gabriel Timber. At the moment, I'm starting Mukiele over Anderson away to West Ham. Just because every time I bench him, he does something. I've then got Foden, Rice. I've got Bruno G in at the moment. Obviously, I'm gonna wait a bit on him, and I've got Enzo, and then Haaland, Thiago, and Ekitike. So. Nice. If Bruno G is injured, I could just bring in Anderson, who's away. Who's home to Brighton, and it's a pretty good fixture, and he's good for DEFCON, so I could play 4-3-3 there. My other options, so I've got 1.4 million in the bank, and at the moment I've got the exact money. Well, no, I'm sorry, I've got a 0.1 buffer to get from Bruno G and Foden to Morgan Rogers and Bruno Fernandes. But I was going to wait a week. But that would give me then a midfield of 4 of Bruno, Rice, Enzo, and Rogers, which is it's probably good as it gets. Nice. Maybe obviously Palmer aside, and I really like that. Tavernier, I think I'm maybe stuck with him for a while until I decide to move on Ekitike or Thiago, who are the cash cows there, and then I can kind of sort of mess around there maybe, but. My issue is if I leave it, I might get priced out by Saturday because I'm 0.1 and I'm relying on 4 players not going up or not going down in price.
What did you buy Foden for?
Oh, I don't know. I got him fairly early on.
Check whether or not the next drop will cost you a 0.1, because with me it will, but depending on when you jumped on him, you may get away with the next drop. So he's at 8.6 now. I think he will drop tomorrow night. And I think Bruno Fernandes will probably go up tomorrow night because people are still buying him.
And then I'm cooked.
And then that'll cook you. So, and because you've only got one FT, it's a bit tricky. I mean, would you have to hit that in this week?
I was only going to do one this week. So if I was going to do Bruno, well, I could either do Foden to Bruno, just get that done, and then play Anderson, and then Bruno to Rogers next week.
Yeah, that might be better next week, seeing as Rogers is away. Yeah.
But then if I'm doing I'm doing Foden to Bruno, and I'm selling Foden ahead of Wolves at home that we just talked about.
Wolves at home. Crazy. There's the dilemma. Ooh. I would move that vice captaincy. You probably haven't looked at it. I would move that vice off Foden and put it on Thiago. because Thiago's a really good bet for captaincy this week. If Haaland gets a rest, for instance, a full rest, would you not? Would you have it on Foden, your vice captain?
Oh no, definitely not. That's way too risky. No. Probably Thiago, I think. There,
yeah,
agree with that. And so when I took this snapshot, which was yesterday, I must admit, Bruno G wasn't flagged. So recommend no transfer this week. Be interesting to see. Actually, I should run it through now if I've got it.
Some of the chats pointing out it might be.
Let's have a look now. Have a look if I do it now. If I go to my team,
you're rerunning it live.
I'm on AI transfers.
Live AI, folks.
Live AI transfers. Sorry, you can't see this. Let's have a look. Pick optimized. If I optimize my team, it's still say because he's only 75% flagged. It's still saying to save a transfer. If I change it to aggressive, let's see what it does. If I change it to aggressive, it says Bruno G to Semenyo. Oh, no, it's a teaser. That's what happens if I change it to aggressive. But obviously aggressive looks at it targets the one game week a lot more than.
Were the ones you did for me, were they aggressive?
They were optimal, mate, yeah.
They were optimal.
But if you want to have a look yourself for your own team, I wish I'd have done that live on the stream. But sign up to Fantasy Football Hub. You import your team. It will tell you every single week. It'll give you recommendations.
Try it for free, folks.
Try it for free for 7 days. It will give you recommendations on your team and transfers. And like I say, it's not even about a lot of the time. He's not saying like go with this. Their recommendation, it gives you something to think about. If it's saying save, it makes me feel so much more comfortable about saving a transfer. Whereas sometimes it chucks one up and you think, I hadn't really thought about that.
I think you should save. I think having 2 next week will be very valuable. And you can with 2 you can normally get the player you want. And so I think you should save.
I think I'll save, but if Foden goes down and Bruno goes up, I then can't afford to do Bruno G to Rodgers as well. That's my problem. Yeah. So, but I'm definitely not taking a hit. So, if I can get to Saturday morning without those changes, which I doubt, but you never know, I might be able to. But I say that Rodgers' form in the league, sort of output-wise, hasn't been that great. He hasn't been scoring much recently. He's going into the run, so it's not. I could go to Njai, for example, or somewhere else. I'll see. There's been lots of shouts for Sharda this week as well. I must say that a lot of people have been talking about Kevin Shard, who obviously
it's the ticker. It's the bottom of the ticker, and I think that's the problem is they've had great fixtures for over Christmas and up to now, and
they've got a good
Sharda has been a good pick, flying up. They've got a good one this week, but 1 week punt, why not? But Foden to Sharda, then Wildcard. We'll do that, but I wouldn't buy Sharda. I just think the midfield slots are too valuable now, and the fixtures for Chelsea and United and Villa are too good.
Okay, well that is it from us for this week. Thank you so much for everyone who joined in the chat. Those going to watch it back and those listening on the podcast versions, your support is very much appreciated. We thought this would be a short one, which has actually been longer than normal. But
I know we have been rabbiting on, haven't we?
We have been. But thank you, Rich, as usual. Where can people get hold of you?
At Rich Clarke FPL on X.
My handle on X is at @FFH_Fergie. This podcast and video will be on the Fantasy Football Hub YouTube channel, with the podcast versions available on all major podcast platforms. If you like what you watched, please press the like button. Remember to subscribe to the channel in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. And if you enjoyed your listen, please rate the podcast. Leave us 5 stars and a comment. It would mean the world to us. We will be back next week, looking ahead to Game Week 24, which will be a Wildcard special. Wildcard special for those hovering over the button. Who knows, Rich? After this week, 2 or 3 injuries, mate. 2 or 3 injuries.
Wildcard with 4 free transfers. What could possibly go wrong?
But in the meantime, we hope you have a brilliant Game Week 23, and may all your arrows be green. Good night all.